There comes a moment in every human life when the noise collapses, when applause dies, when companions dissolve like mist, and you are left standing in the dim architecture of your own thoughts, wondering whether the path ahead is destiny or delusion, strength or self-betrayal. And in that moment, if you listen closely, you will hear the ancient whisper of the strategists who lived and perished long before you. Men who understood that power is not given to the brave or the righteous, but to the one willing to face himself without mercy. And it is from their shadowed wisdom that this path begins. Because the world you walk is ruled not by fairness, but by forces that hide behind masks: ambition disguised as kindness, envy disguised as loyalty, weakness disguised as virtue. And if you do not learn to read the hidden script beneath their gestures, you will become a casualty in a game you never realized you were playing. You, listening to this, have already felt it. The subtle pull of people who smile at you while hoping for your silence. The slow erosion of your will when surrounded by those who fear your potential. The quiet heaviness of days where nothing changes because you were taught to be polite instead of powerful. That conditioning was deliberate. Every society shapes its children into predictable patterns so the machine can run smoothly. But you were not made for smooth machinery. You were made for jagged paths, for storms, for the battlefield of becoming, yet you were never taught how to wield your mind like a blade. And so, you grew up believing that patience is weakness, that confidence is arrogance, that ambition is sin. They lied to you, not because they hate you, but because your clarity threatens the order they depend on. Understand this. The world fears a person who knows what they want and is willing to move without waiting for permission. So they drown you in noise, expectations, obligations, illusions, until you forget that you were born with fire. But beneath your doubts, beneath your softness, beneath every apology you were trained to give, that fire is still there, waiting. You feel it when you wake in the night with quiet unrest. You feel it when someone tries to control you, and your spirit recoils. You feel it when you realize you've been loyal to people who would never bleed for you. That discomfort is your first rebellion. Do not silence it. Lean into it. Because power begins the moment you stop negotiating with your fear. The Florentine strategist once hinted that a person who cannot command himself will spend his life obeying others. And though centuries have passed, the principle remains unbroken. Control yourself, or someone else will. The world rewards discipline even when it condemns desire, because discipline turns desire into destiny. But understand, discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in motion. It is the ability to silence the voice that says later and amplify the one that says now. Every empire begins with that single division inside a person, the part that wants comfort and the part that wants truth. You must choose the latter, even when it feels like walking barefoot across flame. And yes, people will call you selfish. They always call the focused selfish, because they can no longer use them. Good. Let their accusations harden you. Let their discomfort be proof that you are no longer the version of yourself they controlled. If you are still seeking universal approval, you are not ready for power. A powerful person accepts that some must misunderstand him, some must fear him, some must resent him, because power redistributes the emotional landscape around you. Your rise will shake those who depended on your stagnation. But listen carefully, your rise does not require cruelty. It requires clarity. The ruthless are not the ones who harm others without remorse. The ruthless are the ones who refuse to harm themselves for the comfort of others. That is real sovereignty. That is the essence of every great strategist who ever walked this earth. And you, whether you realize it yet or not, are being called toward that same sovereignty. But before you can claim it, you must confront the illusions that weakened you. The first illusion is that good intentions guarantee good outcomes. They do not. The world does not reward purity of heart. It rewards precision of mind. Intentions without strategy are the dreams of children. The second illusion is that love alone will save your relationships. It won't. Relationships are negotiations of power, values, and expectations. Love is only the flame, not the architecture. If you give endlessly without boundary, you do not create closeness, you create entitlement. And the third illusion, the most fatal one, is that time will fix things if you wait long enough. Time fixes nothing. Time amplifies what you tolerate. If you tolerate disrespect, it grows. If you tolerate stagnation, it deepens. If you tolerate your own excuses, they become your identity. You cannot blame the years for what you allowed. You must reclaim the throne within your own life by acknowledging the mistakes without shame. That humility is your sharpest weapon. Few people possess it. Most will protect their delusions until they become prisons. But you, if you've listened this far, are no longer satisfied with prisons, even comfortable ones. You want the key. The key is not motivation. It is not positivity. It is responsibility. Not responsibility for others, responsibility for yourself. Every strategist who mastered the art of human nature began by mastering this. I am the cause, and I am the cure. When you adopt that mindset, excuses die, blame dissolves, victimhood rots away, and a new force rises inside you, a force that does not depend on mood or environment, a force that moves quietly but relentlessly, like water cutting through stone. That is the beginning of true power, and you will not reach it by trying to be impressive. You will reach it by becoming unshakable. Unshakable people are not loud. They are not dramatic. They do not need to announce their strength. They carry it the way a blade carries its edge, silent, certain, ready. The world senses this and shifts around them. Their presence alone recalibrates the room. You have met such people before. The friend who says little but means everything. The mentor whose gaze reveals more than their words. The stranger whose very stillness unsettles you. That stillness is not magic. It is self-ownership. And you can develop it the same way they did, by withdrawing your energy from battles that do not matter. Stop fighting to be understood. Stop fighting to be liked. Stop fighting to fix people who benefit from staying broken. Redirect that energy toward your discipline, toward your craft, toward your vision. Let others drown in drama while you build in silence. Because silence is not emptiness. Silence is leverage. The old strategist knew this. He understood that the one who speaks less sees more, and the one who moves slower strikes harder. Patience is a weapon when paired with strategy. But if you pair patience with passivity, you will decay. You are not here to decay. You are here to evolve. And that evolution requires one final truth. You must learn to sit with the version of yourself you haven't become yet. The version who is stronger, sharper, more resolute, more deliberate. He exists not in your fantasies, but in your decisions. He is shaped not by your intentions, but by your actions. Every day you feed him or starve him. Every day you move closer or drift further. Every day you choose the throne or the chains. And the person you become will be the result of those tiny choices you make while the world is not watching. This is where your transformation begins, not in grand gestures, but in small moments of self-governance repeated until they sculpt a new identity. You are no longer who you were, but not yet who you must be. This middle ground is uncomfortable, yes, but it is sacred. It is the furnace where power is forged. Let the heat change you. Let the discomfort sharpen you. Let the solitude crown you, because the path you walk from this moment on is not the path of the ordinary. It is the path of the architect, the strategist, the one who shapes himself in the dark so he cannot be broken in the light. And if you stay with me, we will go further into that darkness, not to lose ourselves, but to reclaim what was stolen from you long ago, your authority over your own existence. But understand this before you take another step into the territory ahead. The moment you begin to transform, the world around you will shift in ways that test your resolve more brutally than the weaknesses you conquered within yourself. Because growth is not a quiet event, it is a disturbance, a tremor, a silent rebellion against every expectation others built from the old version of you. And those who benefited from your softness, your hesitation, your compliance will sense your evolution long before you announce it, and they will resist it not because they want to stop you, but because your awakening reminds them of their own sleep. You must not crumble under their discomfort. You must become the kind of person who does not ask for acceptance but commands respect simply by refusing to shrink. Your boundaries will feel hostile to those who profited from your lack of them. Your focus will feel threatening to those who used your distractions as their leverage. Your self-respect will feel arrogant to those accustomed to your self-sacrifice. But remember this: dignity is never arrogance. Dignity is the spine of power. Without it, you are a puppet. With it, you are a sovereign. And sovereigns do not negotiate their worth. They define it quietly, calmly, irreversibly. That is the next stage of your transformation, not aggression, not dominance, but a deeper, sharper ownership of your inner territory. And from that ownership grows a perspective few ever develop: the ability to discern not just what you want, but what you must not allow. Because power is not only what you create, it is also what you refuse. Refuse the conversations that dilute you. Refuse the habits that weaken you. Refuse the environments that suffocate you. Refuse the people whose presence dims your clarity. There is a silent discipline in letting go that surpasses the discipline of holding on, because letting go demands that you trust your future more than your past. This is what the old political minds understood: that a person anchored to yesterday has already surrendered tomorrow. You must not be anchored. You must be directional, pulled forward by something greater than comfort, something sharper than desire, something deeper than hope. That force is vision, not the shallow dreams society sells you, but the kind of vision that demands sacrifice, solitude, and a willingness to dismantle every false identity you've worn. You cannot claim a new life without destroying the one built on hesitation. You cannot become formidable while clinging to the habits of the fragile. And you cannot lead yourself until you sever your dependency on external validation. This is where the real battle begins. A battle not with others, but with the ghosts of who you used to be. They will whisper to you. They will lure you back into the familiar. They will masquerade as comfort, nostalgia, peace. Ignore them. The past is not a home. It is a graveyard. Do not lie down inside it. Move forward with a brutality of purpose, even if your legs shake, because every transformation starts with trembling. Every king once walked barefoot through uncertainty. Every strategist once lived imprisoned by his own mind before learning to rewrite its laws. You are doing the same now, rewriting the laws of your inner kingdom. And to do that, you must understand one principle that the masses never grasp. Your feelings are not instructions. They are weather. Weather changes. Purpose does not. If you move only when you feel ready, you will die waiting. Readiness is a myth people use to justify their stagnation. You do not wait to become powerful, you decide to. Decisions create direction. Direction creates momentum. Momentum creates identity. And once identity forms, destiny becomes predictable. That is why the world's strongest individuals seem unstoppable. They do not rely on fleeting motivation. They rely on identity. They do not ask, "How do I feel today?" They ask, "What would a stronger version of me do right now?" And they act accordingly. This is the shift that separates those who merely want transformation from those who embody it. You must embody it, not in the future, now. Embodiment is action without negotiation. Embodiment is discipline without debate. Embodiment is the death of the weaker self. And yes, part of you will resist this death because even your weaknesses have learned to call themselves home. But do not let comfort become your captor. Do not let your old self become your warden. Step out of the prison of familiarity and into the wilderness of potential. The wilderness is harsh. But every empire was born in wilderness, not safety. Safety creates stagnation. Wilderness creates strength. And in that wilderness, you will discover truths that ordinary people spend entire lives avoiding. Truth number 1. Most people do not want to grow, they want to feel grown. They want the illusion of progress without the sacrifice required for it. Truth number 2. Most people do not want freedom, they want permission. Permission to act, permission to desire, permission to become. You must learn to live without permission. Truth number 3. Most people do not want clarity, they want comfort. Clarity demands responsibility. Comfort demands nothing, but comfort steals everything. Your potential, your fire, your sovereignty. Reject it. Reject the soft life they sell you as happiness. Happiness is a fleeting visitor. Purpose is an empire. Build the empire. And understand that every empire requires architecture, mental architecture, emotional architecture, strategic architecture. You must design your days with the same intention a ruler designs his fortress. Structure creates power. Routine creates sharpness. Stillness creates insight. Silence creates leverage. A person who cannot structure their time will never structure their destiny. But as you build this architecture, a strange thing will happen. You will begin to feel detached from the world around you, detached from the trivial, the noisy, the dramatic, detached from gossip, detached from comparison, detached from the endless cycle of reactivity. At first, you may mistake this detachment for loneliness. It is not loneliness. It is altitude. You cannot breathe the air of clarity and expect those living in chaos to understand your silence. Let them misunderstand. Let them create stories about your distance. Let them say, you've changed. You have. You must. Transformation demands betrayal, not betrayal of others, but betrayal of your old limitations. When you rise, something will always be left behind. Let it be. Because ascending requires subtraction. You must subtract the versions of yourself that were built on fear, on obedience, on self-abandonment. And as you shed those layers, you will discover the rarest thing a human can possess: inner dominion. Dominion over impulse. Dominion over emotion. Dominion over fear. Dominion over your narrative. That is the highest power a person can reach. Because once you govern yourself, no one else can. And from this dominion grows a presence the world cannot ignore. A presence that does not need validation, applause, or noise. A presence that stands firm even when doubted, calm even when provoked, immovable even when challenged. That presence is your inheritance if you finish this path. And finishing requires one final truth, the truth your old life feared the most. You were not born to follow. You were not born to kneel. You were not born to shrink so others could expand. You were born to become the architect of your own fate, the ruler of your own mind, the governor of your own horizon. You were born to walk through the world with the steadiness of someone who has buried his excuses and sharpened his will. And now that you understand this, now that the fog has thinned and the masks have fallen, there is only one question left. Will you act on this understanding? Or will you let it fade like every forgotten moment of clarity you once had? Because transformation is not built from what you know, it is built from what you do next. And what you do next will determine the story the world tells about you. But more importantly, it will determine the story you tell yourself. If you are ready to step further into this path, to carve out the kind of strength that cannot be shaken by life or people or fate itself, then stay close. Because the path ahead grows darker, sharper, and more honest than anything you have heard so far. And the next lesson will not comfort you, it will carve you.